This is called the paddle shifter. It is a replacement switch for your Surefire X300 that raises the switch. You don't have to break your grip any longer in order to turn the switch on completely. You can either get it as a switch only, or you can get it as a pre-installed back plate. This holster here is a universal holster that is molded around an X300. And I was worried that that little switch that's right there might encumber how the holster fits. However, as you can see, fits just fine. Might be a good time to mention that we'll create a complete list for absolutely everything that we're talking about. It's the first link in the video description. I'll also pin that link in the comments. Since we're talking about holsters, I need to talk about this little fella called the Wedge. Essentially, the Wedge is a piece of angled foam that has adhesive on the back, and it will stick to virtually any holster that your little heart desires. They come in different sizes. They got like small, medium, and large. They also have some that are wider or slimmer. I found the best way to figure out which one's best for you is to get the variety pack. That way you can test different ones out and see which ones work best. But then once you figure out which one works best, you can pick up a pack of only that size. Essentially, what the Wedge does, adds a little bit of thickness to the bottom of your holster, so when you're wearing it, it pushes out at the bottom and pushes the grip further into your abdomen or on your side, depending on how you carry the gun, making it more concealable and a little bit more comfortable. Ever since these guys came out a few years ago, I've been putting them on almost every single holster that I use. They're pretty freaking awesome. Number 3, the Neomag pocket clip. Essentially what this little guy does is it's a pocket clip that has a magnet on it, and it will stick to a magazine here. And that way, if you're not the kind of person that carries with a holster that uses an extra magazine, you can simply slide this little guy into your pocket and it will conceal very well. And that way you can simply reach into your pocket if you need to do a reload. We do make these for a couple of different types of magazines, and they also make them with extended pocket clips that reach up higher. That way, if your backup magazine happens to have an extension on it, it'll fit no problem. I like these a lot, but I personally don't use them because I typically carry with a holster that looks like this, and I always have a backup mag anyway. But if I was the kind of person that didn't carry like that, I would 100% carry using these guys. Now, number 4 is going to encompass a few different things. It's all about storage and transport. And the first one we're going to talk about is rifle cases or rifle bags. This right here is a no-name rifle bag that I picked up about 10 years ago. I don't know who makes it. I got it off the Amazons, and this thing is held up like a champ. I don't remember how much I paid for it, but it was less than 40 doll hairs or something like that. However, in the year 2025, when we're recording this video, bags have gotten a lot better at around the same or less price point. For the past 2 or 3 years, these are the guys that I've been using. These are from Savior Equipment. Now, the downside to Savior Equipment is sometimes their bags can be a little bit pricey, but they do have some that are a little bit more on the affordable side. For rifles, one of the most affordable bags that they make is the Savior Specialist. The downside to that bag is it doesn't have a bunch of external pockets. However, it does have a bunch of internal pockets, which is kind of cool because it kind of keeps everything inside. That way nobody can go through your stuff. They come in a bunch of different colors and they come in a few different sizes. I'll make sure to have all that stuff linked up at the list if you want to check it out. Now, if you do want a bag that has external pockets, one that I've found that I have used before, but I don't know where it is, it's in a closet somewhere, is the Palmetto State Armory range bags. They come in a little less than 50 doll hairs, and they absolutely are worth the little bit of money that they're asking for them. Another one from Savior is going to be these little guys called loose sacks. They typically come in a pack of 4. They usually have a patch that comes on them that you can write on with a Sharpie. I like to keep different calibers of this one has very little left in it, but I simply fill these up with ammo, stuff them in my range bag. Sometimes it can be difficult transporting square boxes, and these kind of just mold and contort to the inside of my range bag, and they're dirt freaking cheap, and they come in a ton of different colors. Now for pistol bags, I know this sounds like this is a sponsor spot for Savior, but I swear it's not. I just have a ton of their stuff. But for pistol bags, I like this guy right here. This one's also made by Savior. Their stuff is just really rugged and the zippers are really nice. And these things have a ton of space inside. It has enough room for like 6 or 7 magazines. You got storage compartments all over the place. You could keep tools inside here, or if you need to keep backup batteries or whatever. They're pretty big for just a handgun bag, but they can also compress pretty flat, and they come in a ton of different colors. Love these for pistols. Now, something that I was looking for was like a good range bag that comes in under the price point we set for this video. And honestly, I can't find any that I haven't experienced with, nor can I find any that friends of mine have had experience with. So the one I did find that is from Savior is called the mini range bag, and that's exactly what it sounds like. It's bigger than the pistol case, but it's smaller than a full range bag. You can fit a couple of different pistols in there and a bunch of different magazines. They seem pretty cool. However, because I don't have any hands-on experience with it, I can't say for sure if it's good to go or not, but I'll have it over at the part list just in case you want to check it out. Number 5, we're going to switch to magazine loaders. These right here are from ETS Group. I have 3 of these. This one's for larger caliber handguns, and this is for your smaller caliber handguns like 9mm, 40 Smith & Wesson. This is for like 10mm, 45. And I also have one that works for AR mags. I love these, and yet I don't love these. The only time that these are good is when you have ammo that is stacked in rows in a box. And that allows you to simply scoop them up, put them on, and then you put this little fella on here and it compresses the ammo into the magazine. These do work really well, but as I showed you earlier with the loose sacks, I typically don't have ammo in the box. And in that case, if I need a mag loader, I use the Maglula ones. I think you've seen these before. They're everywhere. They've been around for decades. These work really well when you have a lot of loose ammo. I have one, I just kind of misplaced it and I don't know where it is right now, otherwise I'd show it to you. But I do find that it's nice to kind of have both of these on hand, because if you have boxed ammo, these are a lot easier. And if you have loose ammo, the Maglula ones are a lot easier. And they all save the wear and tear on your thumbs, especially when you have new magazines that have really strong springs. Next on the docket is going to be grips and Handstops by Freeco. They make these really awesome grips right here that have the nice little finger cutout. They got some good texture on the back, and they come in at a more vertical angle than other AR grips. It makes the tweak on your wrist just a little bit easier. And they're dirt freaking cheap. When you see the price of them, you're really gonna be like, wow, that's a good deal. They also have this thing called a grip plug. The reason that I use it, not only does it add storage to the grip, the rear of this grip has a little bit of a beaver tail, and that fills that in nicely. Additionally, from Freeco are these guys. This is called the Tiger Claw. This just released not too long ago. And it allows you to really get up on there and get your hand really locked into place. And these by far have been my favorite affordable grips and foregrips. However, there is another couple of companies that are coming in very close. Now, these are not going to be as affordable as Freeco, but they are a little bit nicer, and they are under the price threshold that we set for today's video. The first one is going to be this guy from Driven Arms Co. I forgot the exact name of it, but I'll have it over at the list so you can check it out. But it adds a big palm swell for your hand. It also has a palm swell out on the sides, and you can get these with or without the beaver tail, and they come in a bunch of different colors as well. The next one that I like is from Emissary Development, the same people that made the paddle shifter that I showed you earlier. This is called their handbrake, and they got a couple of different types, a couple of different sizes, and a bunch of different colors. I'll have them all linked over at the list if you want to check them out. But I like this one just a little bit more than the Freeco version. I mean, it is a little more pricey, but I like that I can get 2 fingers on it a lot more comfortably than I can on the Freeco. As you can see on the Freeco, you got that little wedge right there, and yeah, I can get 2 fingers on it. It's just not as comfortable as the handbrake. But as of right now, these are my favorite Handstops. Aside from like the BCMs that I like to use and stuff like that, these are my new faves. So let's move on to butt stocks. As I was doing the research for today's video, I was only able to find 2 that I really recommend that fall under the price threshold. However, if you're willing to go like $5 or $6 more, there's a lot more. So the first one that I like is the Mission First Tactical butt stock. This is actually the very first AR-15 a little over 10 years ago. It's just a hodgepodge of different parts and stuff, and I've upgraded it over time. But this was the original stock that I got. What I like about this stock is it's very easy and fast to deploy with this switch right here. It's extremely lightweight. It actually has a decent shoulder pad and a little bit of a roll right here. So if you're coming from down here, it kind of pops up and rolls into your shoulder very comfortably. The biggest downside to this stock is, number one, it's a little bit on the rattly side, but it's not as bad as a lot of the cheaper AR stocks. And the biggest downside to it is there's no QD sling swivel point for it to attach a sling. However, with that said, Mission First Tactical has released a newer version of this stock that does have the QD point. However, it does cost a little bit more than the price threshold of today's video. Now, the next stock that I really like that does fall under today's threshold is the Magpul SL stocks. These come in a few different flavors. They have them in a bunch of different colors. There's the SLS, the SLK, the SLM. I'll have links over at the parts list so you can check out the different ones, but the main thing to understand is some of them are smaller than others, and some of them don't have the QD sling swivel, but they are all really affordable, and I like them a lot. Now, if you are willing to spend $5 or $6 more, my all-time favorite is definitely the BCM stocks. These have a really tight fit, really tight lockup, and a nice compression switch that is super easy to actuate, and they have the QD spot right there for your sling if you want to use it. So in my humble opinion, if I had to choose between the first two that I mentioned that are under $50 or this one, I would definitely spend the extra $5 or so and get one of these. That's just my opinion, but got to tell you the things that cost less than $50. Now for the next one, since we're on the topic of ARs, let's talk about 4590 safety selectors. Now the biggest thing about 4590 safety selectors is the ones that are typically good aren't cheap, and the ones that are cheap typically aren't that great. However, there are at least 3 exceptions that I'm currently aware of. If you know of others, put them down in the comments below. This one is from Blackout Defense. You got a shorter one on this side, and you have a longer one on the other side. You can switch those as you see fit in case you're a left-handed shooter. They have a very positive click, and the reach on them is perfect, at least for my hands, especially when using a beaver tail on the grip. I can pull it up so quick and easy and fast. This is definitely my favorite of the safeties that we're talking about today, but I do have 2 others that you need to see. Now this next one comes from Magpul, and it's relatively new. I don't know how new it is, but I do believe it's come out in the past year or so. This is called the Magpul ESK, and the actual safety selector switches are made of polymer, and it comes with a bunch of different configurations. So for example, I got a short one on that side, have a longer one on that side. You can configure it to have 2 long ones or 2 short ones. I think there's a total of 4 different switches. It also has different color indicators. You can get red or a black indicator if you don't like red. These are the cheapest that we're going to be talking about today, and so far I've been running it on this BRN 180 Gen 3, and it's been running like a top. Now the third one, I don't actually have it with me today, but I have tested it on my buddy's gun, is going to be the new Aero Precision Pro safety selectors. They come in a bunch of different colors. They are solid and good to go. They are anodized. You either get them in black, I think tan, and I think they got a green one. Not really sure, but I'll make sure to have the links at the part list to all the different variations. But when I was shooting on his gun, it felt amazing. It felt almost as good as the Blackout Defense, but the Blackout Defense felt a little bit better. Now, when I was preparing for today's video and I was looking for slings that fall under the price threshold of today's video, and of the slings that fall under that price threshold that I've tested, that I actually recommend, is gonna be this guy. This is the Magpul MS3 Gen 2 sling, and essentially this sling can do a lot of things. Number one, it can be a single point sling, or you can convert it to a 2-point sling. Additionally, this little fella right here acts to relieve the tension, to loosen it up, and then you can simply put it over and go to town like that. It comes in a bunch of different colors, and there's a bunch of different like upgraded accessories that Magpul has available for them. My biggest downside on this sling that I don't like is actually this thing. I mean, this thing works well. I just wish they had a pull tab similar to this sling. And the slings are similar to the buttstocks. There's a lot of slings available that I do recommend that cost a little bit more than the $50 mark. So I will have them linked at the list, but we're not going to talk about them in the video. But in regards to ones that are legitimately under that, Magpul's the only one that I've found that I like. But having these pull tabs are a game changer. It just makes it a lot easier, in my humble opinion. Now, since we're on the topic of slings, there are 2 more things that I do kind of want to talk about that make using a sling a lot easier and a lot more fun. The first one is going to be this guy right here called a Sentry strap. And essentially it's a strap that goes around, Velcros around your handguard. Then it has a magnetic piece right here that will hold your sling in place. The coolest part about it is because it's using a magnet, you can simply put your arm through and break that magnet and just put it on and go to town. I only have one of these Sentry straps. Someone gave it to me. I don't think Neomag gave it to me. I think it was a friend of mine. He's like, dude, you gotta try this out. So I did, and I really like it a lot. And they're quite affordable, especially for the kind of problem that they solve. Now, the next thing that you should do if you're gonna use a sling, and especially if you're gonna use a 2-point sling that attaches to your handguard, is never put your sling swivel into the bare aluminum of a handguard. Your handguard needs to either A, have reinforced steel insert in it, and if it doesn't, you need to go get one of these BCM sling swivel pieces that attaches to M-LOK or Keymod, whatever you have. They're less than 20 years or something like that. It will change your life, because if you've ever tried to put a sling swivel into aluminum and had one pull out, you know why you should never do that again. Now, while we're talking about the handguard, there's one other thing that we need to talk about. This guy right here called a bang band. I'm talking about this band right here. These are from Strike Industries, and I know a lot of people are like, man, Strike Industries makes crap stuff. Yeah, some of their stuff is crap, but some of their stuff actually solves a problem, and it's pretty good. So this essentially is like a Ranger band. Ranger bands just wrap around your handguard and they can keep everything neat and tidy. But these are a little bit different because on the inside of these, they have a little space for cable management. And so that's how I'm using it here. It's actually holding the cable that goes from my light going through here. They come in a bunch of different colors and you get like a pack of 4 or 5 of them, I forget, but they're really cheap and they actually work really well. Now they also have one called a Bang Band Mini, which can be used for a few different things, but the biggest thing that I like them for is the grips on handguns. If you look at the Bang Band Mini, it has a little ledge right here, and that little ledge is right there for your index finger. You could also put these on your AR grips if you wanted to, or you could put one on your handguard if you have a slimmer profile handguard as well. And it's like adding a little bit of a finger groove, and honestly, it looks kind of stupid on the actual handgun, but having my grip above the band up here and having my finger right here drastically improves my grip. Like if you look at this footage here, I'm just gonna hold like this with my middle finger and my thumb, and I'm gonna push up on the muzzle. And you'll notice that without the Bang Band there, it slides quite a bit, and with the Bang Band there, it doesn't move at all. Now on our next upgrade for ARs, it's gonna be the charging handle. And the charging handle that I'm gonna recommend, I do have one. I actually have 2 of them. I just don't know where they are right now. Ever since we moved a little over a year ago, there's a lot of stuff that I simply can't find, but I will throw some footage up so you can see what they look like. And it was really difficult to find one that falls under our price threshold today. But if you have one that is like this, and you've ever put like an optic setup on your rifle, you'll know that trying to actually use these tiny little mil-spec ones is very difficult when there's an optic in the way. And so typically people like to upgrade to something like an ambidextrous charging handle that they stick out a little bit further on each side, and you can pull either side in order to actuate it. The one that I recommend comes from Breek Arms. It's called the Warhammer. They come in a bunch of different colors and they're dirt cheap. Will they hold up over time? I don't know. I've only had 1 or 2 of them that I've tested and they were all right, but you know, honestly, I can't tell you what the life expectancy of them are, but I can tell you they're cheap enough that if something goes wrong, you could afford to get 2. Next up is going to be Ear Pro. Now, obviously, we can all just get foam earplugs and use those at the range, but what if you need to talk to people? What if you need to hear, you have good situational awareness if someone's walking up behind you if you're outdoor shooting? Or what if you need to hear range commands from a range officer? That's why I really enjoy Electronic Ear Pro. Now, 2 of my favorite over-the-ear Electronic Ear Pros that fall in today's pricing category is either going to be A, the Howard Light Impact Sports, or B, and these are Brownells branded, but these are the Walker Razor Slims, and then they have the Slim Ultras. Both of them are really good, and both of them will work even better if you upgrade this little portion here with gel pad cups. It's amazing the difference that a gel pad cup will make, not only to the comfort, but to how well they seal around your ears. The Howard Lights that I have, they're in a range bag out in my truck right now. However, I've been using them since 2015 and I've never had a single problem with them. I simply just swap the batteries out when they're dead and they're good to go. Now the next accessory that we're gonna talk about is extensions for your mags. Over the years of testing different extensions for both rifles and pistols, The one that just seems to work the best for me is from Shield Arms. They have them for everything from Glocks, CZ, Springfield Echelons, M&P 2.0s, you know, on pistols, and Glock 43s and Glock 43X. Then they also have them for ARs as well. I like them because they work. I've tested others that also work, but these have just been the most consistent for me. And they're relatively affordable, even though they are CNC'd aluminum and they come with extra power springs. They're kind of just good to go in case you want to check them out. I actually use one of these in my everyday carry. If you didn't watch my EDC update video from last week, you can feel free to go check that out. But I've been carrying them every day since the year 2018. I usually go through my ammo every 6 months or so, and I've never had a problem with them. This next accessory that everyone needs is extra mags. You never have too many magazines. And because magazines are relatively affordable, unless you're shooting a special 2011 that takes very specific magazines, just get all the mags that you can possibly get. If you get mags that don't work, simply get a paint pen and write on them that it has malfunctions and use that for training as your malfunction magazine. Next up on the list is going to be mag wells right here. A lot of people get mag wells because they want to have a ramp on the inside of their grip so they can do reloads a lot easier or faster. For me, I like mag wells for an increased grip. I like how my pinky rests on top and it pushes my grip higher into the guns. One of the guns that has the most availability of mag wells is going to be your Glock variant. And I say variant meaning OEM Glock as well as a lot of their clones. Two of my favorite mag wells that fall well below today's price threshold are going to be from Strike Industries and from Reptilia Core. Both of them are made of polymer. However, the downside with polymer is sometimes, now this magwell wasn't made for this frame, but they can pull down like that and not give you a lot of support. In my experience, the Reptilia Core works a little bit better than the Strike Industries, but the Strike Industries have honestly been almost just as good for the same exact price. So it's kind of hard to go wrong with either one, especially at the price point that they're at. But speaking of Glock, the next upgrade that I highly recommend is this guy. And I'm talking about this frame right here. This is the SCT manufacturing Glock frames. They work with all Gen 3 components. They make them for 19 to 17. You can get them as a 34. They also have them that'll fit the 43X as well as the Glock 48. And these things are dirt freaking cheap and they're absolutely amazing. In fact, if you want to see a complete breakdown of this, and in this video right here, I show you complete. If you want to see my favorite AR upgrades that are under 100, then go check out this video right here. And until next time, I love you, and you guys stay sexy.